So I've currently got the track Stare Into Space open, where we're going to be looking at the mix and master, any creative decisions I've made and any automation I've added to this track. So first off, we're going to look at the mix itself. So in this track, I've also used the drum bus as a way of maintaining like my drums together. So all my drums were sent to a bus, and that bus is then sent to the master bus, which is then sent to the main output. As well as that, I've done some brief automation on the reverbs, on the vocals and stuff, when the vocals have been too loud, and I've had to pull them down, mainly just on the main vocal. As well as that, something new is if I move to the mastering chain, the chain I've got is the master deck, a saturator, a 7-band EQ, then obviously my Pro limiter at the bottom. But I've also got this plugin called Vinyl. Now this plugin called Vinyl is an external plugin to Pro Tools that I downloaded that allows you to create vinyl sounding parts to your mix. So as you can hear, if you listen quite, you can hear some mechanical fuzz similar to the saturator. As well as this, you can hear dust, which is the little clips you keep hearing. This keeps playing as even when the track's paused. As well as this, you can add scratch, which causes like little like pauses in the mix. You can also decide on what era it's from. So currently I've got the 2000s because I wanted it to sound like vinyl, but I wanted it to sound high quality and up to standard. So I press play on the track. So it goes from the 2000s to 1980, which sounds slightly different, to 1970, to 1960, 50, and even 30. Because you've got to think that, like, as the years have got on, the quality of the vinyls have got better, and their understanding of how to maintain the quality of sound. In the 1930s, there was nowhere near as much bass or top end. It was purely just this small demographic of mids. Hence why, when I've got in this 1930 section, the bass is gone. But as we slowly make our way back up through the years, you can kind of like hear the quality come back in. So as well as adding this to get that like vinyl sound with the crackles and the mechanical buzz, at the end of the track, it allowed me to find an outro to the song. So with me like envisioning this track to sound like vinyl with all the different components I've added, I wanted to end the record with the end sound of vinyl stopping. So the way in which I did this is, if you go to the vinyl, you can see here there's a spin down. This spin down causes a slow down effect that stops the track. So I went onto the plugin and I clicked on this little box here called Plugin Automation Enable. I found spin down, I added it, clicked OK. So now when I go to the automation window, if I go to my master, you can see it's been added on the bottom here, effects, vinyl, spin down. And in the same way I've done automation before, you just draw the lines with the drawing tool and you decide to turn it on or off. Now once this turns on, it creates a sound of a vinyl stopping. So I'm going to press play and show you the example of it. So as you can hear, like it's the record like stopping and slowing down, and it has like a whir in sound to it. I found that to be like a really fitting ending, and it gave me like something unique to the track to finish with that like wasn't dull and adds a bit more like story to it. As well as this, I should probably talk about my issues with the mix of this track. So this track although it has like less parts, it's very, very full with the parts it does have. And I had a lot of issues in getting the mix to sound balanced. So one thing that I had to do more than once, which I can't stress enough, is I dragged everything to 0, and bit by bit I slowly added stuff in until I found like a point that I liked. An area that I had issues with is, I believe it's this synth here. So if I wait for it to start. Yeah, so it's this synth here. It's quite like thick and fat in the mix, and it gets too loud in certain parts. So where the rest of my mix was fine, I've then had to automate this one in particular on certain parts, purely because it was just getting too loud. So if I go to volume, as you can see here, there's a lot of variation of when I'm playing. This is just purely because, like I mentioned, it worked on certain parts, but as the track got quieter in other bits, because of this being so consistent, it became too loud or too quiet, and it just made the mix really unbalanced. So that's something that I had to do towards the end. Other than that, the mix doesn't really change. I did also have to add a little bit of a drop in the decibels on the main master, because at this point in the track, it's like the peak of the track loudness. As far so this point in the track, in comparison to the rest, was just really, really loud. So again, I just brought it down slightly, and honestly, with it being the end, I didn't really need to bring it back up, and it didn't make enough difference to like require that. But it was enough to stop my master from clipping, which is obviously very important. Out of all the tracks, I believe this one gets the loudest at certain parts. See, so like the LUFS we're pushing -9, which is obviously very loud and good. It means it'll be more than loud enough for release on streaming platforms, but it's very like volatile loud, so bringing it down for those parts was probably a wise decision, because even though it's going to get that loud here, when it goes on the streaming platforms, it's going to get compressed to -14, which the louder it'll be, the more compressed it'll sound, which obviously isn't the ultimate outcome that we desire. But other than that, there isn't really anything else special about this track that I've done. Nothing major, just some minor things to point out, and just to show how effective pulling everything down to 0 is, and then slowly bringing them back up, playing around with like the pannings of stuff. On this track, I've stayed a lot in the range of hard left, centre and hard right. There wasn't a lot of like playing around with the panning, because of the simplicity of the track. I didn't want to go outside of what I was looking for. So yeah, that brings us to the end of the EP and the end of the mix and masters. Now there's going to be one more video that shows me putting all of the tracks into one session after I've consolidated them or bounced them. Well, actually, I'll show that now. So once the tracks are completed and I find where the end of the track is, for this track it's here at this line. This is when the last instrument plays. So once I'm happy with all my mix, I come out of groups, I select all, and then at the marking point I drag like so right to the beginning of wherever the track starts. If you've got like a blank intro, you want to get to the point that you dictate the track to start. I then come up here to file, come all the way down to bounce mix, click on here, name it as I would, make sure the settings are all right, the sample rate's right, pad to frame boundary, which is what this is here, what we've just highlighted. and then if I want, I could add an MP3 version, but I want it at the highest quality, so we're going to do it as a WAV for now. Prompt location, I'll just ask where I want to save it, and then finally just bounce. And then once I've done that,